Hello and welcome to Goose Live. My name is Charlie Stivers, your host and also the publisher of Goose Magazine. And in today's episode I'm excited about. Uh, I met someone in the local Denver area, and we just got to connecting and talking, and just had an amazing conversation. The She's a retired Marine veteran, and if you remember the slogan a few years ago, it was the few, the proud. And she came up with the business name of one of the few, and she helps the few impact many. So, and part of that, she's incorporated a lot of technology and cryptocurrency into her business, her message. And so we may get a little bit of tough love today from her, and I'm really excited about her stories as well. So stand by, and you're not going to want to miss this. And we're back. All right. In today's show, I'm really excited about our guest today. And I upgraded this whole system. We have way more tools available to us now. So if you want to join in on the conversation, you can comment and it comes through, and you can be part of the engagement and conversation here, ask questions to me and the guest, and we can just make this more fun and more value packed for you as well. So let me get into introducing our guest today. Like I said, I was introduced to her through the Denver business community, and Tami McVay leads the few to impact many. She's a business and lifestyle strategist, a Marine veteran, and founder of One of the Few, who embraces technology and cryptocurrency. She learned life-changing lessons through her service in the U.S. Marine Corps, and that shaped her career and life. She will share with us how we can implement simple strategies to create the lifestyle that we want. And like I opened earlier, we might get some tough love along the way. So excited to introduce Tami McVay.
Hey, Charlie, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and talk to your audience. I think this is, I love talking to anybody about crypto. So thank you for having me.
Nice. That was definitely the bonus out of our conversation. And that's kind of the connection, obviously. But I know now that you do way more than that, but it's even cooler now that you add that into your message.
Yes, definitely. I'm used to being, one of the few crowd in the crowd, no matter what crowd I'm in, and crypto is really no different. So.
Yeah, and speaking of one of the few, I think the most recent statistics out there, it's like maximum 20% of Americans are in the crypto game in some way, and worldwide it's still less than 10%. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yes, definitely. And it's funny because it feels new, but it's been around over a decade. But really, we're just getting started, and so it's so exciting of everything that's going on.
Yeah, and that's part of my message when I evangelize about crypto. I just say, you're not too late. It's still way early. This is only like a $1 trillion market cap in the whole market, crypto market.
Yes, so exciting.
So let's jump into it. Why don't you first introduce yourself to the audience and share a little bit about your story?
Okay. So obviously I'm Tami, and I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old. I was still a senior in high school. And then once I graduated, shortly afterwards is when I went to the boot camp. I was in during the Desert Storm era. I served 4 years in the Marine Corps. So I'm not retired, like you said, but I am a Marine veteran, and I'm still very active in the community. And then the funny thing is like when you're young, you just do what you do. So I loved my time in the Marine Corps. I knew I didn't want to make a career out of it. But now that I've gotten older, I look back on that experience and I just recognize how much that Marine Corps thinking, my drive, my commitment, my loyalty, my integrity, just how much that served me throughout my whole life. So once I got out of the Marine Corps, then I moved to Colorado and started working for a Fortune 100 company where I became a software developer. I was with them for 20 years. So I saw the early days of the internet and the dot-com boom and all of that. And then in 2014, I decided that I really wanted to get involved with helping more people and do my own thing. And so I took a huge gamble on myself and I walked away from my career and have been focusing more in the social media space, online, and helping both individuals and small businesses. Really just start going after the things that they truly want in life and using my strength and tough love and giving them the extra boost and strategies they need to, start taking risks of their own.
Yeah, excellent. Imagine that's much needed. And I love that position of being a Marine veteran. And, that adds like this other twist of credibility, in addition to your corporate background. That's pretty cool. So can you maybe tie in a little bit of, what you experienced being a Marine and how that impacted your lifestyle or your drive?
Yeah. So, during Desert Storm, my unit was one of the first to go, and they went so quickly. They said no women in combat. And by the time they started sending women over there, my unit was coming back. And so to me, it's completely fascinating to just see the evolution of women in the military. And I have such admiration and respect for that. And just reminding myself that everything that we do, it's just a journey, and there's constantly an evolution and a journey, and that everything that we do, we're standing on the shoulders of those that came before us. So whether that's, the military or it's here in the crypto space, there were people that had to be those pioneers and move forward. And then, so once I got out, being young, confident, willing to try anything, and really embracing the leaderships of the Marine Corps, taking that self-initiative, knowing that the things, the risks that we take, they're not life and death, and we can build it up in our head with all this fear and things going on. But really, you have that chance to shine and to learn and to fail and to grow. But it's all choices and decisions. And so really just starting to trust your gut and taking more risks. And so I've just done that all along the way. And even when I was in my corporate job, in my personal life, I started, traveling the world with friends. I got into doing all these different athletic sports. I'd never ridden, I'd never really done any major cycling, but then I went on these adventures, biking cross country with friends, because just the marina, and be like, sure, that sounds like fun. And so I kind of treat the same thing, attitude in crypto too. Like, wow, that project sounds cool. And just really trying things out and, expanding my mind and horizons.
Yeah, absolutely. When we first met, you shared one story about your perspective in your compensation and how you managed your own finances. And I don't want to ruin the punchline, so maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. So, so it was women. I think what brought this on is we were talking about women and investing. So many women, they manage the family finances, their budgeting, all that stuff, but they're so afraid of investing. And I really didn't know what I was doing either. But the things were starting to evolve. The websites were getting easier. You could go start buying your own stock and things like that. And even though, in my tech journey, we were an all Microsoft shop, I started buying Apple stock. And it was one of those things, like, I just trusted my gut. Like, it looks super cool. I like their marketing. I kind of felt like it was going to be something. And so early on, I just started buying it. And a lot of people hold back from investing because they just feel like, oh, I have to put thousands of dollars and I really don't know what I'm doing. And so then they just stop. But I wasn't. I'd be like, $25 here, $50 here, $100 there. And the next thing you know, Apple's doing a 7-to-1 split. They're doing a 4-to-1 split. So it was like one of the best financial moves that I made, without even really knowing. And so another thing I would do too is I would find these magazines that would say, here's the top 20 stocks you should buy for, 2010. And so I'd open it and I just start looking through and just with my background. And like I said, a lot of it was just my gut. Like, does that sound like it could really grow and be something? Sure. And then I'd throw, $100 over here. And so it can be just a big experiment. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
Yeah. So obviously I'm a magazine fan, and I still remember, I got into investing when I was in 1998, and I would read Money Magazine. And I remember the headline in 2001, the greatest bull market is here. And then 9/11 happened. So that was kind of a neat recall. And then, so with your, the few, the proud, and your journey to one of the few, is there a story behind that and how you came up with that, and how that's all evolved?
Yeah. So you were talking about some of the statistics of crypto. Women Marines actually make up 0.0003% of the population. And so, obviously one of the few was a play on the few, the proud, the Marines. But in 2020, I was at an event with some mentors, people I really trust, and they just hit us. And I had been in business for, I don't know, almost 6 years at that point. And all of a sudden it was like, bam, the light bulb went off. I knew it was something, because we can all relate with that. You talk about Tom Brady and you're like, he's one of the few who did this, and you can decide what that thing is for you. If you want to be, one of the few moms of 3 children who gets in the best shape of her life, like, you can do that. But there's things behind it. There's grit, there's commitment, there's strength, there's, resilience, and just keep pushing through to do something different. And so, like, my time in the Marine Corps, the ratio of where I went to school was 200 men to every woman. And then in my corporate days, the early days of going to Microsoft conferences, I was one of the few women that were in the room learning technology. And then in the crypto space, you see women here and there, but when you're hanging out in, Discord groups or Telegram groups, you see very few women. And so it's just a place that I've gotten comfortable in. but helping other people realize like they have so much power in themselves with the choices and decisions they make, no matter what your background is. I grew up in a trailer park, and so I didn't go to college. And so it was more of just, you just have to keep learning and growing and just start to believe in yourself.
Yeah, and that's kind of the position I take with my son specifically. Between my kids, my daughter and my son are so different, and my son loves to learn, but is not a big fan of school. So I position it as, hey, school can also be a way to learn how to learn the right way, and you can teach yourself. So I like that you brought that up, and that's really important because so many of us do go down non-traditional routes or just jump right into the military. So that's neat. So in your tech journey, what eventually led you to crypto? Was it just your investments or the technology?
It's one of those things, like I said, you kind of just start do what you do. You go about your job, you start doing the different things. And so the internet had come out in March of 1993, and I had built my first website in early 1995. And I love that in your intro, you have, that screenshot of Yahoo, like how ugly it was. And I think that's one of the things that holds people back from crypto is just how clunky everything is. But every day it gets better. Every time there's something new launched, it gets better. And so, so I was early on that journey. And in 2004, Microsoft approached me about speaking at the Professional Developers Conference, talking about some of the new technologies that we were using at the time. And at first I was like, oh, no, like I was terrified. And then I just thought this kind of opportunity doesn't come along very often. And I spoke in front of 3,500 software developers, exactly what we were doing. And so it kind of reminds me of those days. And then, once I started doing coaching and consulting on my own, a lot of my clients, they're afraid of the tech, and you don't have to be afraid of the tech. You just have to learn how to work with it. And so one of my skills that I had developed over those years in corporate was that my clients were accounting and payroll and HR and legal, and they weren't technical. And so I was always having to come up with analogies to help explain, what we were creating or why we were running into problems. And so I was helping bridge that gap for people. And then in the crypto space, I discovered it in 2017. I was really intrigued by it. And then I talked with one of my entrepreneur friends who was really into crypto, and he explained to me what the code was doing. And once he told me that, like a big light bulb went off. Like I knew immediately blockchain was huge. I saw how it could be so secure, but I still had a hard time getting my head around the currency side. It felt like video game money to me, but I still kept paying attention. And then in 2018, I became a dabbler. I started buying a little Bitcoin, a little Ethereum. And then I had some friends that were really into it. And then in 2020, I found out that a couple of my friends had become crypto millionaires. And I was like, damn, I need to pay attention to this. And so ever since 2020, I make it a point to learn something about crypto every single day. And so I've been helping friends and family behind the scenes, get started. One of my mentors says, who are you taking with you? And that really resonated with me because I thought if crypto does all the things that they say it's going to do and really powerful, and I'm taking action and I have real success in it, and all of a sudden I just kind of left everybody in the dust, I would feel really bad about that. So I just figure I can use my tech skills, my background to help them understand it. And then they can choose whether or not they actually take action and get involved.
Yeah, that's my perspective as well, and my belief, because there is a learning curve to this, and if we keep it simple and talk about it as an evolution of the internet is how I keep it simple for people. And hey, we saw where it started in 93, where we are today. People have a chance to be a part of that. And so I've made some mistakes along the way. We learn from them. Can you maybe share some of the mistakes that you made along the way that can prepare people?
Well, I think part of it was spending too much time in that just watching instead of taking action. And so that was one of it. And then, some of the news that you heard in 2022, like I was impacted by that as well. I lost some money. But I think uh, you just have to learn, one, how to protect yourself, take security seriously. And then just, you know, diversify and take little risks. And so then that way, if it's no different than if you had your wallet, a piggy bank, or any of that. If you lost part of it, sure, it would sting a little bit, but you didn't just like throw everything in one place. And I think that a lot of people got stung by that. So yeah, I've made mistakes. But like I said, I just gradually keep pushing along because either you believe in it or you don't. And I definitely believe in it.
Yeah. And one of the points I like to make is convenience does not equal security. So, I teach them how, hey, these centralized exchanges is only to connect your bank account. You can buy some things here and there, but hey, you got to set up these wallets or these, cold devices and transfer it on there. That way we avoid the FTX mess or any of these other exchanges that could be shut down either by poor management or regulations. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty key in this, and it's also a big lesson in personal responsibility. So, that's part of this whole journey. Is you learn by your mistakes, and then you develop this better, money mindset, but also have a purpose. What's your goal for this? So, it's kind of cool how you can pull all these little lessons in along the way.
Yes. And I think one thing that people really aren't talking about enough is just the mindset needed in the crypto space. You have to be courageous and, be brave. You have to trust your instinct. If something feels off, then just don't, because there's so many other opportunities out there. And then, to be able, it is volatile, but that's where a lot of that opportunity comes in. And just to be able to have that stomach for the ups and the downs, and then really just really seeing the big picture of it and having faith in that to help push through. And so I think that one of the things that really made me decide to start stepping forward and helping people in the crypto space is I felt like there was this gap there. You have these hedge fund managers, you have people talking macroeconomics and the technical analysis and how to read candle charts. And then you have, these really young guys on YouTube with their laser-eyed profile pictures, talking that bro culture. And I just felt like there was this gap of like, well, what about the normal person that just wants to, be able to pay some bills with crypto or, take advantage of that and grow their wealth too. And so I just thought, that marine integrity is important to me. I'm never going to teach somebody to do something I wouldn't do myself. And, maybe we both lose at certain times, but hey, at least we're in it together. And to be able to support people with just a little bit like common sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the tests for myself also is, would I put my mom into this, or, how do I help my mom to keep it simple, set it up the right way? So that's kind of a neat little litmus test that I do as well. And it's interesting. You mentioned how, like earlier, trust your gut. I was actually in a trade last night on a new launch, and it was very limited and lots of interest. And I kept seeing the price go up, 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 and up. Check the blockchain as it was happening. Sorry, I'm getting a little advanced here for the audience, but this is a good lesson. I saw that no one was able to sell. So I was like, oh, something's wrong here. So I sat it out, and actually there was a problem with the contract. So it wasn't connected the right way. It wasn't a rug pull or a scam in any way, but there was a flaw in the contract. So they immediately paused the contract. And in the middle of the launch in Discord, they're like, we screwed up. They did take responsibility, as good leaders do. And they're like, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to have to relaunch this in about 2 to 3 weeks. So that stuff happens. And, and that's part of what we need to do in trusting our gut, but also take that responsibility and research the development team, the leadership, and pay attention.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think when stuff like that happens, there's a lot of that. Oh, it's a scam. Oh, they're ripping us off. And it's not to say that those people aren't out there. There's people out there trying to rip off your U.S. dollars too. But a lot of times there's people that are super smart doing really cool things, and they just make mistakes. I coming from the software development side, there's never perfect software. So you're just always adapting and evolving and making changes and making it better. So to have a little bit of forgiveness in that area is key, because it's all new.
Yeah. So you mentioned the dollar, and being part of an employee of the U.S. government. Do you have your pulse or a little bit of your take on what's going on with our monetary system and our monetary policy?
Yeah, so I find it really interesting, just the disconnect, the back and forth that's going on here in the U.S. We have 4 different agencies who think that they should be in control of it. The SEC thinks it's a security. The Commodities and Futures Commission, they think it should be a commodity. You have Treasury, who thinks it should be currency, and then you have the IRS, who's treating it like property. And so if they're confused and throwing things around, it's no wonder that just the average user is confused. And so a lot of people are just like holding back, waiting for them to make their decision, which right now there's still plenty of money to be made while they decide. I recently listened to a recent interview with Coinbase's chief international officer, and he said other countries are not having these same arguments about whether or not it's a security. They just look at it as, is this something entirely new, or is it an existing asset class? And they're determining that it's something new. And so they're creating new rules around it based on, their existing rules, and then they just modify it for a digital age. And so I think, just as, a Marine, like I took the oath to defend the U.S. against enemies, foreign and domestic, that one of my greatest fears is that we're getting behind on the 8 ball here when it comes to technology, and then the financial gains that are out there. And so if you have these other countries, whether they're an ally or against us, who are embracing it, and they get, they don't even have to be doing anything illegal like money laundering or things like that, where a lot of people's head immediately goes to. They could be just doing all the right things, and these other countries could completely surpass us. And when you can take a society and you have their individual citizens become more and more wealthy, you're just at an advantage. And so I think that's just my greatest fear, is that, I feel like we're somehow like slipping backwards.
Yeah, and that brings up another point too. While all this uncertainty, let's call it, is stifling legislation and regulation through our lawmakers, I brought this up in one of my earlier broadcasts. The DoD is actually moving forward, and it's very reminiscent of the beginning of the internet, which they called ARPANET. And who was the first one to really embrace that technology? It was the DoD and the universities. So we're seeing that again already in blockchain technology. So that's kind of a pretty fascinating repeat of history.
Yes, and I find that like a lot of new people, because they're not immersed in the industry, in the space like we are, they just see the news headlines. And so anything that makes headlines is more than likely a negative spin on things. And so it just makes them afraid, like, okay, well, I'll wait until things settle down. But they don't see all of these cool things that are going on under the covers. Whether companies are just using blockchain itself, or they're actually investing in crypto and cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, as consumers, we need to keep in mind that there's always a bias, or someone, they say follow the money. So, we all know that with our legislation system, that there's, corporate money out there, kind of nudging their legislation to say, hey, why don't you paint this in a position where crypto is the scapegoat. They're to blame for all of this that's going on. What's your perspective of that?
Yes, I agree. People will assume that these banks going under and stuff have something to do because they are involved in the crypto space. But a lot of it just comes down to poor management. I heard a statistic that since 2008, we've had like 526 banks go under. And you just don't hear about that. But all of a sudden you have like the third largest exchange go under, and it's like, everything's coming to an end and this is all horrible. I definitely think that they do a little bit of, CYA, cover your ass. But I like that you said follow the money, because that's one of the huge benefits in crypto is that you can follow the money on the blockchain. Whereas now you have to, it's like a big treasure hunt. And so, but once you can look at the blockchain, you can see where the money is going and going to who. It may be anonymous, but you can know where the buck stops, so to speak.
Yes, that is cool. For people who don't understand blockchain technology, it's literally a ledger of debits and credits, but all of us get to be that third party. We're the witness to what's going on. And this is where I think AI is going to really play a big part in blockchain technology, because eventually they are going to be able to connect those dots. And it's like, oh, this wallet belongs to so-and-so, or this wallet belongs to the CEO or that politician. So that's coming. I tell people, because one of the questions when people get started in crypto, they're like, can you really escape taxes? I'm like, no, don't think of it that way, because, this will all catch up to us at some point. And if you make one error, then, the IRS is going to go after you. So, I just say, treat it like you would a stock portfolio.
Yep. Well, and I tell people too, if you have a job and they offered you a 20% raise, but tell you you're going to have to pay more taxes on it, you wouldn't be like, no, I don't want the money, keep it, and so take that 20% raise. And then, yes, you may pay 5% of that, but you're still gradually getting ahead. And it's the same with crypto. You start making money on it. All right, I'll pay taxes. I want to pay more taxes, because if I'm paying more taxes, it means I'm making more money. So it's nature of the beast. It's what gives us, our roads and some of the great things that we have here. And let's just, I don't know, like, why can't we all just like lift each other up and go fast at this,
I know it's crazy, the blocks that people put on themselves. And I remember hearing that in my younger years as an employee, like, oh, yeah, it's going to bump me in another tax bracket. I'm like, that's like the worst excuse ever. All right. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. All right, so I got to do a quick plug for the magazine. I'm super excited and proud. Actually, you might appreciate this. I took a behind the scenes tour today to publication printers down here in Denver. So the magazine's growing. We are printing 2,500 copies. So we got to go down there and actually see it on the press. So that was a really cool experience. So if you want an actual fun physical magazine, just go to goosemag.com and we can drop ship those to you. And of course, if you prefer digital, you can subscribe for digital as well. But so in speaking of the magazine and the different stories, I mean, the common denominator between all of them is high value content. So, one of the stories we had in there is helping 7th and 8th graders at an entrepreneur fair. We did a fundraise for Bitcoin, and we got about $500, and then we showed each of the kids how to put the Moon wallet as a Bitcoin wallet on their phones, and then they went shopping at their friends' little mini businesses. So have you had any experiences with kids or younger adults in your crypto journey?
No, I have not. But listening to that story makes me think of El Salvador. Their president is all pro Bitcoin. And one of the things he had done was invest in Bitcoin and gave every citizen $30 of Bitcoin. And within a matter of weeks, it was worth $38. And a lot of them had never even had a bank account. And so I think when you start getting people, especially kids, involved, because you think about these 2-year-olds know how to operate iPads, to get on and watch their little movie, and it's so different from when you and I grew up. So to get them embracing this now, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're crypto, or they're digital natives, whereas we were digital migrants. So it's kind of a pretty cool dynamic there, and how quickly they pick it up. So literally after we showed them how to do it, they're like, okay, we got it. So that was really fun to see. How about as far as have you identified any women leaders in the crypto space that you like to follow?
Honestly, I haven't. And because I've thought a lot about that. I think, you start poking around and it's really easy to go down rabbit holes, or to start to feel either it's kind of another one of those gaps. It's either be completely afraid of this, or it's going to the moon, get rich quick kind of thing. And so I kind of just found a couple of things that I really resonated with, that the way they talk about things from an aggressive conservative, then I listen to those. But now that, just like I said, I'm stepping more into this space, I feel like it's time. I loved your interview that you did with Jenny Co, and hearing her background. And so I know that they're out there. We just have to hunt and find each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the next magazine is actually on women's leadership in crypto. So I'm excited about that. And Jenny Co is a part of that. And, we'll help, bring some other women to light and give them a safe space to share their message and how they're leading in the industry. And it's neat to see a lot of them are based here in Denver as well.
Interesting. Well, I definitely look forward to connecting.
Yeah. And then so you kind of touched on it a little bit, are you starting to challenge yourself and find other ways to maximize your returns in crypto, or using other strategies?
Yeah, so I've gotten more into DeFi, looking at some of those projects, and then also, doing some trading. But I just realized, as I was wanting to share some of these things that were working for me, that people just didn't even understand what blockchain and crypto was. So I thought, you know what, let me just take a step back. Let me just help them get comfortable and get set up. And then once they start to see, some profits on their, top 20 coin investments or something like that, then they'll start to get more excited and, ready to explore and go into those deeper areas.
Mm-hmm. So not that we want to shill anything in particular, but are there any projects or blockchains or layer 1, layer 2 that have kind of caught your eye or attention?
So the one that I'm most excited about, it's called Layer 1X. It's not launched yet. But it's a blockchain that, it's layer 1, but it's connecting all of the top layer 1 blockchains. And if you're familiar with crypto in any way, you know that bridges are the greatest risk in crypto. I think it was billions of dollars lost in 2022. From trying to bridge from one chain to the other. And so what they're doing is incredibly cool. They're getting a lot of press. They were just on NASDAQ TV. So they're getting, New York eyeballs on it. And that should be launching in August. So I'm just really excited to see where that one goes.
Yeah, this whole buzzword around interoperability is I think going to be one of the biggest winners. And basically, so for our audience, just like you have an Apple device or Droid and then Windows, those all do kind of work together in some way. So that's where this is all trending towards in blockchain, where this will all work. Like we expect our devices to work together. So that's going to be an interesting development. I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought that up.
Yes. And one of the things that they do too is like transferring that logic. So if you're playing solitaire on your iPhone and you want your solitaire score to move over to your Android, it's going to be able to do that. And so they're doing some really cool stuff. So they are having a developer hackathon this coming week. And so it'll be having the developers get their eyeballs on it is going to be great too.
Yeah. And that's one of the key indicators to pay attention to in this space is who's building on it, because eventually it does come down to community, like I showed it in our intro, but what's going to keep that community coming back? What's that stickiness factor?
Yes, like I that's one of the things I love about crypto too, because when I think about the early days of software development, it was all just the software developers coming together and kind of coming up with these ideas, like how can we do this, how can we do that? But in the crypto space, you have software developers, you have technologists, you have financial analysts, you have mathematicians, scientists, all coming together, thinking how they can solve real world problems. And so just the innovation. I think one of my biggest frustrations with crypto is that the more I research, the more I want to invest. And I'm just like, I can't get the money in there fast enough.
I know, right? Yes, I feel
Yeah.
you there. I know there's a lot of shiny object syndrome, but that other moniker saying multiple streams of income, that's how millionaires are created. But I also, on the other side, say multiple streams of distraction can really ruin our focus.
Yes. Yes.
And there's a
Yeah.
lot
Just
of
finding those few things that really resonate with you and taking some risks and like I said, trusting your gut. And then those, just a
Mhm.
few can take you a long way.
Yeah. So let's talk about you a little bit more and how you help your clients. Do you have any cool stories that you want to share, or maybe dive in a little bit of what you do with your clients?
Well, so before the pandemic, I was leading adventure retreats because when I look at my background, some of the greatest growth I had was getting out in nature with some cool people, having great conversations. And so I wanted to, be able to do that for small business owners as well. And so you get them out of their element. Most people, work too much when you're trying to grow your business. And so to be able to escape and have those conversations with other business owners, what's going on, doing things you never thought you could do. And crazy enough is when you do something so physical and you have to go from point A to point B and you have no other choice, what it does for your confidence is incredible. And so all of a sudden you get back to business and you're feeling unstoppable. So that's what I was doing. And then the pandemic hit. I happened to be in Portugal on one of my retreats during lockdown. So that was really interesting. So I got away from that. But I really think just helping people gain that clarity and really trust in what they want and that it's possible for them and start being strategic about, how are we going to get it? And so, yeah, so that's kind of where I've been. I have a little taglines: live courageous, live committed, and we are one of the few. And that's really how I live my life and what's served me well, and to be able to help people incorporate that into their own lives.
Yeah, that's a just to teach that and ingrain that into people's mentality, I think is so important. So one of the, I guess, pushbacks you hear is about the coaching industry in general. There's good coaches and bad coaches. Um, you know, and I would say, take the time to, if you're looking for a coach, seek out one that you connect with, or that, either by their message or by personality. What's your take on that?
Oh, I definitely agree. Over the years, I've had various coaches. Some people truly, truly cared and wanted you to succeed and would give you everything they had to make that happen. And then others, it's like, meh, if I just followed their free advice, I would have been good. So it really is all over the map. So I think that part of it for me was I want to build the few to impact the many is just being really selective on who I work with, because a lot of people say they want these things, they want these freedoms, they want these goals, but very few people actually really willing to do the work. And for me, it all comes down to that personal leadership, because once you can build up that personal leadership, it really doesn't matter what you want. You can get out there and get after it. I think that's just where the tough love comes in. And like I said, the integrity and trust. I think leading by example is so huge. So whether you're a CEO and you have staff, or if it's just your social media network, the way you live, people see that. And so you're just making people more aware of their actions and the impact that they can make as well.
Mm-hmm. And then what are the models that you offer? Do you have some group, some community involvement, or mostly one-on-one?
So I've been doing mostly one-on-one. Now in the crypto space, I've been doing more group stuff, just because I think just stimulating those questions, and with crypto, with it being so vast, some people are going to think of things different ways. And so I just find that I know from my own experience that sometimes you think you're good. You're like, oh, I don't have any questions. And then somebody asks a question. You're like, oh, wait a minute, that does apply to me. And so I really like the group aspect when it comes to the crypto space too. Especially because people don't want to feel dumb. They don't want to lose their money. A lot of people don't want to talk about money. And so that's one thing I found in the corporate space. You're not supposed to talk about how much you're making. Nobody talks about their money at all. Like somebody just shows up in a new BMW and you're like, all right, cool for you. But the thing I love about the entrepreneur space is people talk about money all the time. Like, oh, I spent this much on this mastermind and it didn't pay off, or it did pay off, or I made this much on a launch. And so it just allows you to have those conversations. And in the crypto space, it's the same way. People are like, oh, I lost this amount of money on this project, or I made this amount of money. And especially the younger people that are in crypto, like they don't really care. There's no embarrassment there. You're just like, this is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to how community is so important, I like that aspect where, yes, we can evangelize about one project, but also watch each other's back on another one. And that's really important because this is such a vast industry right now, and involving community, you can bring in other perspectives, ideas, projects that leverages all of our time. So in that respect, I think community is really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've been in business masterminds for years. And then this past year, I decided I was joining a crypto mastermind just for that reason, because we can all be, watching each other's back and, sharing that information to accelerate faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me take one more break. And so speaking about coaching, one of my brands so I did hire a mentor as well to get me started. And then, this was all during COVID, just shared my experience on social media and attracted another group of new users. And we had just had fun with it. But then people started reaching out, kind of like what you experienced too, is like, hey, will you help me? And I'm like, I don't think you understand how much work this takes. So I started Cryptocurrency for the People with that in mind, where just helping people along the way figure this out. And my moniker is safety, confidence, then profitability. So let me just show you a quick little blip on that, and we'll be right back. All right. So we've had such a fun time connecting in the few weeks that we've known each other. So there are some synergies there. So we'll see where this goes. I've been really excited to have you here as a guest and share your perspective as a leader, as a woman leader, and then plus with your background. Are there any final things you want to discuss that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet?
I really would just want to leave people with, the whole live courageous, commit to learning something crypto on a regular basis. If it's not daily, have it be weekly, and know that if you watch a video or you read an article, 95% of it's going to go over your head, but you're going to get a little 5%. And then each time you do it, you're going to get a little bit more. And then all of a sudden you're going to click. Something's going to click from what you read, 3 weeks ago. And oh, okay, I get it. And that's really only way you're going to learn. And so you just have to, keep pushing through. Don't beat yourself up if you're not understanding something. And then just be wary of experts. I've been in it for 6 years. I don't consider myself an expert. I know a lot, and I know a lot of different people, but I don't. I just think that it's too vast for anybody to know everything.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I just tell people get started in some way, and just realize, just like anything technology, it just takes some repetition. You'll pick it up. And just like you said too, it's I know probably more than 80% of the people out there, but I don't consider myself the expert by any means, because there's people that's been in it longer than us, right?
Yeah. And the thing is no matter how long they've been in it, they've lost money, they've made mistakes, they've fallen for things. And so to be able to learn from each other and just really support each other. I would love to see you become a crypto millionaire.
Same, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And we know that day will come. It's just a matter of time. But that's the other thing about this. If people remember the .com days, lots of millionaires were made. And before you know it, 5 years, 10 years goes by, and it's oh, I missed out on some of this. And so that's where, we're trying to share with the audience today is just encourage you to get started. Don't let any kind of uncertainty that's going on, prevent you from, taking that step. But, just keep safety in mind. And then as far as, any final words? We just got 2 more minutes left.
I really just know that, yes, it really is the early days. But once you start learning more, it really is going to make you excited about it. And, yes, there are scams, but we deal with that in our day-to-day lives, people stealing packages off your porch, so just, you can't get overwhelmed by it all. I like to tell people, it's kind of like if somebody told you to go learn social media, you'd be like, what, where do I begin? There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn. So instead, just pick something that really resonates with you. If gaming's your thing, go learn all about gaming. Blockchain, go learn about blockchain. The great thing is there's something out there to match your passions.
Really good point. And how you wrap that up, because, some people do get stuck of where do I start? And just like you shared, I say, hey, well, maybe start with your passion or start with your career path. And that can, be a little bit more of a comfort level for you in getting started. Mm-hmm. So awesome message, Tami. Thank you for your time today. And if you connected with Tami today, her website is down at the bottom, and we'll catch you guys in the metaverse later. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Cool. Do I still have you?
Yeah, but it's still showing that it's live on my side.
There it goes.